right, ladies and gentlemen, the deadline has passed, and the results were Wrestling Appreciation Society knocked it out of the park. One of those reasons why they knocked it out of the park is our guest here back with us once again to talk about it. He was the 2023 Deadline Rumble winner. He was the man at the end of the show, and one of the reasons why this was a successful show, to say the least, and some. He's going to talk about it, and plus his future in professional wrestling, plus who knows what else. He needs no further introduction, but because, well, he won the Rumble, he's going to get it anyway. So, without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, Pro Wrestling Star here, and the 2023 Wrestling Appreciation Society Deadline Rumble winner, Matt Roy. My friend, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Tom. A pleasure as always to be on, obviously. Thank you very much for having me on today.
Right, well, certainly the kind of a modest hello here, but we'll get to, I'm sure, a lot of reasons why you might be modest, you might not be modest later on, but I do want to recap the show itself first in terms of the huge resounding success that it was. When we were talking about this off the air, almost 100 or right around 100 tickets sold and well over 1,500 pounds raised for cancer and so many great things that this event did. And I think, this is just my opinion, as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire Radio, and promoting this show here for about 7 or 8 months, whatever it was, we're promoting this for. This was, I think, exceeded expectations by almost anybody that had heard about this, and talk about what it meant to you to see all that success, all those milestones, and especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio.
Well, I think for all of us really that were taking part, it was bigger than we could even have imagined it was going to be. We all kind of went into the show thinking it's going to be family and friends, parents coming to watch. It's going to be a very much low tier show, but I think we proved every single person wrong that ever doubted us from the start. The crowd from the get-go were electric. It felt like something.
That was a big building, by the way, you guys were in. That there was some definitely, you could feel that was a big fight feel there.
I mean, it was definitely an event that you had to be at. I think you had to see it to be able to believe how well everyone actually did. I think it was one of those shows where you go in thinking, oh, it's going to be all right. We'll watch some people. I mean, we're going to watch as friends. But I think everyone kind of walked out with a completely different respect for wrestling. And I think that's something that we were able to achieve, even just showing friends and family a different side to what pro wrestling is in the world.
Absolutely, no question about that. And I'm curious for a few minutes, and you've been in the ring before. I know some of the others on the show, at least from the WAS side, had maybe minimal experience, minimal matches. They'd obviously done some stuff at the B Strong Performance Center in Swinton, but no disrespect to Swinton, it's a different environment there in Swinton versus this. I mean, how did that make you want to perform? And did it put more pressure on you? Did it make you feel nervous? And you'd been in the ring before, so you have experience. But I'm curious from you and your standpoint, along with the rest of the guys, how did that make you guys want to go out there and do the best you could?
I definitely feel like there was a lot of pressure on us all. I mean, we'd heard a lot of negativity towards the show prior, with people doubting what the show was going to be. And I think that only made us all work harder. And I think it just made the show that much better because of how well it went compared to what people were thinking it was going to be. I think it just kind of made us all feel better coming out of it. And I think it made the audience feel so much happier for watching it. Overall, it was just an amazing experience for everyone involved, I think.
No question, and that crowd was into it. I mean, you definitely had a great crowd out there. I could hear it. I watched a good chunk of the show on Instagram, and you could even hear just in, I know the Instagram video, I don't know if you caught it, wasn't that great, but you could kind of hear the crowd, you could hear the noise. I kind of liked, in a way, it felt like almost like a gym setting. Sometimes you watch these shows, and you're in, whether it's in a lounge, whether it's in like almost like a basement church or whatever it is. And I mean, GT Ministries has a great setup. They're kind of unique in their own perspective. But I mean, a lot of these shows you watch at our level, there's a certain, I don't want to say dinginess to it, but there's a certain kind of like, you kind of see scale wise, maybe not what you see on TV, but this, I gotta say, watching on Instagram had a big scale feel to it. Do you think that maybe helped everybody in a way?
I think it will have definitely helped people feel more comfortable, because I think obviously we've got to give a massive thank you to the university themselves for obviously allowing us to use the venue and all
Sure.
the facilities that we had, the lighting, all of that was given to us by the university to use. So we can't thank them enough. I think being in that big show, like, because especially for me, who's done shows prior to Deadline, it did feel like a big show feel because of the environment that it's in. It felt like a mainstream show that you could go and watch every week.
Absolutely.
You kind of just be sat there and it's something that you could enjoy going to watch. So I think for everyone involved, it was kind of just a big kind of energy boost, a big confidence boost to kind of just be in that kind of environment, to just do what they love to do and just love doing it.
Absolutely, no question about that. And I have more questions, but people want to say hello to you. So let me get to people who want to say hello. James Marshall, my guest Sunday night on Sportswire Radio. He is the interstate open weight champion over in Wrestling Championship Entertainment. Says hello, Jensen. Thank you so much for Mr. Marshall himself for tuning in. We'll definitely speak with him Sunday. And of course, for full WCE coverage, go to WCE Heat on Facebook, YouTube, and WCEHeat.com. Mr. Michael knows. Obviously, Michael is always with us when we do our NSAR and WAS shows. Says the Matt Royale, well. And you actually won the Battle Royale, and you're the Master Matt Royale. I guess you could put it that way. And Callum Jakes to the upgrade. You know he's going to say something. It says still tag champs, boys. And obviously, well, that really has nothing to do with you per se, but he does point out that NSAR retains those titles. Good evening, gentlemen. I'm going to have an announcement towards when the Phantom of the Outlaws come on next week on Sportswire. So we'll have more WAS coverage next week. And C2K from the RWA says hello, but I have to bring on somebody here first that makes a comment here. And I think you know that is obviously it's also your co-man behind the show, Mr. Travis Cox, and Deadline proved the haters wrong. I mean, I'm surprised though that why were there haters for something like this that was gonna do so many great things for people out there. You know, we've heard from Sammy, we heard from you, we've heard from obviously Phantom of the Outlaws, we heard from Travis. I mean, we've heard from so many people, right? And everybody's impacted by cancer, and this was going out for the right reason. This wasn't a show where you guys were gonna, make a buck and scam the people. I mean, why were there so many haters? I'm almost so kind of fascinated in that in a way.
I think it all comes down to jealousy. They're not involved in something that we managed to put on, and I think the only way that they can show the way they're feeling is to just hate on the show. And I think for something like what we were doing, it's a charity show. Like, none of the money raised from the show is going to us. It's all going to a good cause to help people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, I think if people just thought about that, that's kind of.
And I want to put it out there. If I can put it out there, if I could be a guest here for a second, if you were doubting something that was going to go out there and help people, even if they raised just £1, even if they take a step back, even if they raised just £1 to help cancer research and to help those that have been impacted by this horrific disease, excuse my French, you are an idiot and you should have no business in commentating in the world of professional wrestling. Now, if you were jealous because the guys had a chance to be in a big building, a big environment, that's on you. But they did this for the right reasons. They didn't do this to try to scam people. They didn't do this to put money in their pockets. At the end of the day, they wouldn't have put much money in their pockets anyway. So in my mind, my opinion, if you were out there basically bashing these guys, maybe because of whatever reasons, clearly you should be looking at yourself, and there is jealousy. So let's get to some more comments here, because I don't want to spend all day on that, because I think I've said my piece, and I think that management out there and everybody else, regardless of whether you're on the show, would probably agree with me. My guest coming up Monday night here, another champion, Mr. Big Cheese Logan, and he's obviously a big man. He's going to have a lot to talk about about another great company that's going out and doing things for the right reasons. Championship Wrestling Entertainment. He says, good evening from Manchester, England. And Michael says, oh, he knows I was in attendance. Skulls from California. By the way, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon there. So Skulls says hello there. Fantastic show. Incredibly proud. Definitely, we love this individual here. Deadline was one of the funniest shows I've ever been a part of, with a whole lot of heart, respect to all involved. Well, I'm going to get to that. I have a lot of people I want to talk. I believe this is Mr. Sammy Rice here. Deadline had haters because the old guard wanted to protect their little bubble. They couldn't see past a new crop of talent putting on their first show from the grassroots. They saw the competition. They saw a threat. They didn't see what we saw, which was, at the end of the day, this was more than putting on 5-star classics. I mean, I should probably address this from Sammy Rice. I mean, you want to say something about that?
I don't think I could have put it any better, to be fair. I think that sums it up perfectly. I think it's people that are doubting the ability of people that, yes, they've only been doing it less than a year, but just to give them the platform and the opportunity to do something that they all love, I think it's something that isn't seen very often in the wrestling community at the minute. Like, obviously you see training schools, but it takes sometimes years to be able to be put on a show. Whereas we wanted to be the platform that showed off new people in an amazing light, which I think we did.
Absolutely, and I 1,000% agree with that. And I think at the end of the day, this is just me, little old me, right? What do I know? I think that there's people look at it and say, this should have took you 5-6 years to do rather than 1 year. But it's not about experience sometimes. It's just about having the heart, having the desire, and this love for this business and this sport, which you guys all have here. And that's why you guys were so successful. In this industry we work in, unfortunately, there's a select few people that expect every show to be WrestleMania caliber. We did more than the best what we could. And that's all it comes down to. Listen, a wrestler told me once, it's all about, did people have a good time and did you try the best you could? And listen, that was what I was told growing up as a kid. When I was a kid in Brooklyn, I remember I wasn't good at much, right? As you could tell, I'm clearly not good at anything, right? And one of the advices my father would say, well, did you try your best? Well, most of the time I didn't, but the times I did, I think it showed. So obviously, you guys did a great job here. I truly believe that those who didn't take part in Deadline are kicking themselves. If not, they should be. Yeah, they're probably kicking themselves, and they're probably kicking themselves in the private parts. Let me just put it that way. Another guest that's going to come on, I think it's kind of an announcement here. I'm tongue twisted for it. Next week, Mr. Owen Carter, and he says, good evening, Matt, my friend. Not bad for an unpaid charity show. Yeah, I would agree from the lawman Kyle Kennedy. Shout out to the lawman Kyle Kennedy. And James Marshall says, I can get the guards want to protect their spots and shine in a promotion. That can hurt a business. Absolutely, because again, and I didn't expect to spend as much time on this, Matt, as I am right now. But to me, at the end of the day, there are people out there that feel there should be things that go a certain way. And we cover a lot of different places, a lot of different companies. But I feel at the end of the day, what you guys did, again, it boggles my mind that anybody would kind of be jealous or question or anything about an event that went to raise money for cancer. Because if you took 10 people, I would say 9 of them, right, in some form or another, have been impacted by cancer. So to me,
Easily.
what you guys did, it's laughable how people would question that. All I have to say is it was an amazing show. Glad I turned up. Glad I got to take my cousin's son as his birthday. It was the week before and was glad to attend with my friend and his son, who may remember Ethan, who took a picture with you and Pride, his favorite wrestler. All right, so great stuff, Michael. I want to talk about the show itself. So let's first talk about before you won the Rumble and the future of WAS. Obviously, Tommy Dillon. This was a match that we kind of, in a way, I guess if you remember months back, kind of had a hand in actually making happen here. And you took on the wild card Tommy Dillon. And for those that are listening and watching, talk about that experience and maybe how it helped propel you into winning that Rumble in the main event.
Well, obviously, me and Tommy were going into it knowing there was no rules, knowing that there was relatively no restrictions on what we were going to do. And I think even Tommy would say we took each other to each other's limits. I think it was a match that I was not expecting from Tommy, and I think I could say the same for Tommy, that he wasn't expecting out of me. The only issue obviously was with Donny Franchise getting involved towards the end.
I'm going to get to Mr. Franchise. I'm going to get to him. Go ahead. I'm going to get to him.
I'm not going to say that I know it for certain, but at the end of the match, I had Tommy Dillon pinned for the 3, and that didn't happen, leading to Donny Franchise getting involved, screwing me out of the match and screwing me out of the win. Now, I'm not saying that I definitely had Tommy pinned, but if you look back at this match, it's very clear I hit the finish. He was there for the taking. So I'm not saying that we're definitely going to do it anytime soon, but anytime down the line, Tommy Dillon, let's run it back. Let's see who the true winner is with no distractions, no alterations, clean cut down the middle. That's all we need.
For whatever reason, when you said the word "no distractions," I'm just automatically thinking about a Van Halen song and Sammy Hagar's vocals. But leave the Sammy Hagar and Eddie Van Halen mentions aside. How many times then, in your head, before I get to Mr. Franchise, have you replayed that match where you thought you're gonna have that 1, 2, 3? I mean, you have to have thought about this a lot, even though you won the Rumble. So talk about that where you thought you did everything and you had a former world champion, a multiple world champion done, and that 1, 2, 3.
Well, that's the thing. He's a former world champion. Beating a man like Tommy Dillon is a surefire way to get into a title picture. I mean, it's a foot in the door, which in this industry, that's all you can really ask for. And I think having it stripped away that easily, it does obviously play on your head a bit. But then obviously we then led on to the Rumble, where I'm sure we'll talk about it later on. I mean,
we are.
Different circumstances could have aligned to have a different outcome, but I think overall with the show, the outcome that did happen was I came out victorious in the end. And I think, yes, the match with Tommy was a difficult one, but we come out of Deadline with a positive attitude. We come out of it with a positive mindset and a positive outlook on where the future lies, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I get the positives. There's no question there's positives. We talked about the tickets. We talked about the success. I got that. But you're a competitor. And this was a match we hyped here on Sportswire. This was born out of this station, an interview we did months ago. And all you're saying is, yeah, I got positive. No, you're a competitor. You're a guy. This was your comeback to the ring here, pretty much. This was hyped up massively all through social media. You can't just be feeling positive. This has got to burn at you, no question about this. Come on, Matt Royale.
Well, that's the thing. Like, obviously, we all want to get the wins every single time, but that doesn't necessarily happen. But when we can't get the win, the point is that we get up, we fight back, we win, and then we get the second shot. And I know for a fact, if I get the second shot with Tommy, I don't make the same mistake again. Donny Franchise turns up again, it'll be a very different outcome to what happened on 2-3 weeks ago.
Now, we're going to talk about Mr. Franchise here. And I had even asked to kind of announce you coming on here in a way, Jenny Hayes, about Donny Franchise and the society. And Jenny Hayes answered it, I guess, kind of in a way that even most people that weren't watching this show would have asked, in terms of just kind of the perplexity. I mean, was this something that we should have saw coming? I mean, you, of all people, had a different relationship with Donny Franchise. I mean, you and him were together. I mean, I think about even the time when we saw what happened with the Kyle Kennedy attack on Sammy Rice, and we think about everything with you guys in management. You guys, I don't want to say we're like Kyle Kennedy and Donny Franchise, but you guys were at least very good friends. I think that's a fair statement to make. And this has got to certainly have burned at you more than anybody else on the roster, because we saw all the different attacks, all the different people from this masked attacker, and then it being revealed to be Donny Franchise and how it impacted you. I mean, tell us how you feel about Mr. Franchise, because you're the first person on this roster that gets a chance here live on Sportswire to talk about it.
Me and Donny had the idea to do something like what we've done this year for the past 3 years. I looked at Donny like a brother. We were as close as we could have been, and then he pulls the stunt that he did. For the past God knows how many months we've had this masked attacker situation going on. We didn't know who it was. I thought the one person that I could have trusted was him. And then he stabbed me in the back. I've had a while to think about how I want to react to the situation. I mean, it's been a disgraceful act that he's committed. I mean, look at what he's done. He attacked at least 3/4 of the WAS roster, at least the WAS side of the roster before deadline. He attacked me just before Christmas. I was out of action for 3 weeks, nearly missed Christmas because of what he did. I looked at him like he was a brother instead of what he actually is, and that's just a two-faced snake. And as much as the Rumble happened and I managed to get my hands on him, that is not the end of the road for me and Donny Franchise. Not until I get my hands on him one-on-one, which hopefully, given management, could be happening sooner rather than later, but obviously we don't know until we find out what the plans are. We don't really know if I'm going to get my hands on him, but I will find a way, whether it's in NSOR, in WAS, if it's just on the street and I manage to find him and get my hands on him that way, the man will not walk again after I find him. He will not get himself off the floor. I will put him down and he will end his career just like Kyle Kennedy had to end his career at deadline.
All right, let me ask you a question. I have comments, and I knew that people were going to talk about this, but I'm going to ask you something, and I could see that this is tough for you to talk about. I know we spoke at the top of the show. We were talking about the success. We were talking about the Tommy Dillon match just now, but Matt, I could see Donnie used your vulnerabilities against not only you, but the rest of the roster. It was intentional then, what Donnie did. I mean, talk about even what you just said about Christmas, and you almost didn't get a chance to spend Christmas with your family. Being on the shelf for 3 weeks, thinking about all those senseless attacks. I mean, this was cold. This was calculated. It was cunning. It was ruthless. It was every single name you could think of in the book. I mean, there's no question that Donnie used you, I guess, in his way to get what he wanted.
I mean, you can look at that without question. I mean, I was one of the main people that had a hand in training Donny Franchise. He came to me 3 years ago with a dream that he wanted to step in the ring. And I helped him. And this is what he repays me with. Screwing me out of the match I had at deadline. A match that I clawed at having from being on the shelf for 3 years. He screwed me. He screwed everyone else, but then he got his own back. I eliminated him from the Rumble, and now he's got a permanent target on his back because not just me, but I can guarantee the rest of the WAS roster will be wanting a hand in taking him out. And I'm done sticking up for him. I'm done helping him out, being the good cop to his bad cop. I'm sick of it. So anyone that wants to get their hands on Donny Franchise, you can step in line or you can join in, because otherwise I've got first dibs.
Can I ask you something? And I don't even know if I should phrase this in the right way, but if you don't mind, Mr. Royale, I'm going to ask you that. And before I do that, I want everybody to follow the Wrestling Appreciation Society, please, on Instagram at WrestleSociety.HUD. Also, like their page on Facebook here, Wrestling Appreciation Society. Also, give a like here to Matt Royale's page here, also on Facebook. Let's get him some new followers. He's the Deadline Rumble winner. Also, please follow him also on Instagram at Matt_Royale.wrestle. So make sure you follow him, Matt_Royale with an E .wrestle. But I'm about to say this, and if I would have said this to you, I don't even know, maybe 2 months ago, you would have probably laughed at me. You were about to say, you would have said, Tom, you're nuts. You might say I'm nuts anyway, right? But you would have said definitely at that time, you're nuts. Was the lawman Kyle Kennedy right all along when it came to Donnie Franchise?
I didn't want it to be true, but the evidence clearly speaks for itself. He has no allegiance to anyone. He really doesn't care about anyone apart from himself. As long as he gets to the top, he'll hold anyone down that he can. He knows that he hasn't got the ability to do it for himself, so all he has to do is use a bigger name, a bigger face to use and lily pad himself over them. It's despicable. It's disgusting. I think he really showed everyone that day the kind of person that he is. And I think from now on, I think he's never going to be able to be trusted again. He's never going to really see eye to eye with anyone again, because I think nobody wants to have him there. I think the way we've got to run with these now is that you can't trust anyone. I put all my trust in Donny Franchise, and now look at us. I can't stand the man. And it's a case of now, who can we trust?
Can't
Donny's
stand him, man.
years.
It's more like you want to give this guy a severe beating. I don't want to say kill this man because we are on Sportswire and there's a lot of people listening out there that would say, Tom, you can't just say that, but you certainly want to do some things to this man. And I have some comments, and I also have somebody also tuned in from California that says here that Donnie Franchise is clearly going to want to address this here, and he will. And in fact, there's a comment from Mr. Franchise himself, but I do want to get to some more comments here. This individual first says, what are you doing August the 27th? What are you doing August 27th?
That might just happen to be a little trip to Wembley Stadium.
AEW. That's all in. That's all in. That's all in. Okay, all right. That's a good reason why. Yeah, that's if you're one of the lucky people that has a ticket, certainly. Try to find a way about that. Travis says here. Travis makes a great point here. Donnie Franchise has a lot to answer for. WAS management is still working out the appropriate way to deal with him. Well, they're gonna have to figure that out real soon. Michael Knowles says he's sold out and thinks he can replace the lawman in the society. Who does he think he is? Well, I'll tell you what he is, a marksman. I don't think that the society really wants Donnie Franchise. I mean, Jenny pretty much was pretty clear about 2 weeks ago and said they didn't really want to do business with him. So it doesn't seem like to me that the society he's welcomed in. And I mean, I think Dan Robertson, of all people, has a better chance to join the society than Donnie Franchise. I mean, Jenny Hayes pretty much admitted it without admitting. That was kind of funny. I mean, we kind of chuckled there. Sad but true is to quote Metallica, obviously. But John the Rock Jackson, of course, the man behind the RWA, the Rochester Wrestling Alliance, here says, Matt Royale, I cannot wait for you to get revenge, my brother. He also says, congratulations on the epic win, and that glad you were victorious. But let me bring up here, before I get to the franchise here, Skulls the Soul Hunter says, you should tell the lawman that Y2J wants his crystal ball back because he can't see the future anymore. Okay. Of all the people you could mention, Dan Coward Robertson, come on, Tom. The analogy was he has a better chance to be in the society than Donnie Franchise. That was the analogy here. The Phantom Phoenix, who I'm going to have an announcement for in a little while, says Donnie will be having burning nightmares after we are finished. All right, you know what? I got all that is, but let me bring up Donnie Franchise, the man that you used to call a brother, the man that was like a best friend to you. You guys were like peas in a pod, and he has a lot to say to you. So let me get to what Mr. Franchise has to say, if you don't mind me doing so. Let me address a few things. I ain't going to explain anything till he comes on. And Mr. Franchise will come on. We will certainly work that out. We're still working that out as we speak. So we certainly hope to hear from Mr. Franchise. I hope that you as well do, Mr. Royale. All I'll say, okay, well, all I'll say is, 1, all will be revealed soon, Matt Royale. 2, Jenny, no one even remembers you're in the society, so don't try to call me a cameo, sunshine. 3, I didn't injure Kyle Kennedy. Stuff happens. Me and him didn't plan that. That's the only thing we didn't plan. I assure you of that. So I'm going to allow you then the opportunity to address all those different things that Mr. Donnie Franchise has to say.
Well, first off, it's clear to see that he's a coward. I mean, all will be revealed soon. He clearly doesn't know what he's doing. He's made a plan, but he hasn't thought about what would happen afterwards. He had this idea that he was going to walk into Deadline, make this big reveal and walk away, the big winner of everything. And everything came crumbling down because Donnie is a rookie. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's way in over his head. Second off, I mean, I can't speak for the society's need for Donnie Franchise. I mean, if I was in the society, I clearly wouldn't want him on the team. I mean, like I said, there is no trust to be had with Donnie Franchise. So if the society is built on trust, there is clearly no need for someone like the Franchise to be there. And with Kyle Kennedy, I mean, accidents happen. Obviously, we wish the lawman a speedy recovery and we hope everything is okay with him. But yes, accidents happen. No one is at fault. There's nothing really we can say about that. I mean, it's a terrible loss. And I think even the lawman himself's kicking himself every day. but we've got to move on and we've got to hope that maybe someday he can make a return, but we can't push him to do so if his body's not physically ready for that.
Right. I'll get to the lawman in a couple of minutes. Obviously, we love the lawman on Sportswire. We certainly hope he's doing well. I'll get to him in a second, but you said a couple of things interesting here about Donnie franchise and Donnie, the different things that he did, the different things that he even said just now. So, based off what you're telling us here about Donnie franchise, what's the end game then, you think, for Donnie franchise?
I don't even think he knows that. He's not the smartest of people. He's a very much hot-headed person that, yes, he'll have an idea of something he wants to do, but he won't know what to do when he's got it. He's like a kid in a candy shop. He'll pick all these sweets that he wants, but then as soon as he's got them all, he doesn't know which one to eat first. He's an idiot. I mean, he's done all this, and now he's lost loyalty with every single member of the WAS locker room.
Then who's his friends, though? Then who are his friends? He has to have somebody that you would think would be a friend of his. I mean, who do you think that is?
A lot of us had, well, many of us didn't have any issues with him. I mean, myself, Sammy Rice, the Phantom and the Outlaw, we were all friends. I mean, but then with what he's done,
KP, Psycho,
KP, Zachary Zest, you know, everyone, like, and now with obviously everything that's come out about what he's been doing, nobody is going to turn a blind eye to Donny franchise. If he's seen by any of them, I'm sure there'll be something about what they've done to him.
So basically, if I'm Donnie franchise, you're walking in a darkened alley and you see a bunch of WAS members of the roster, you would say then turn the other way.
I'd say he's walking on a minefield, and I think the one bad step and he's in some deep. I'll let you fill in the blank.
Almost kind of like when Mr. Franchise and you guys had walked out of the performance center there in Swinton, and you could see that Donnie was outnumbered, and this time you won't be so kind like the society was there. So, okay, fair points there. I do have some more comments here. Let me try to get to them here first. Casey Jack Bradley, young trainee from GT Ministry, says, "Good evening. Hope everyone is well." I think we got the answer from the society. Donnie Franchise can pretty much fill in the blanks here. Michael Nola says, I wasn't a fan of Zachary Zest, but after what Donnie did, I feel for Zachary. I have to say, yeah, I think a lot of people looked at Zachary Zest like it's kind of like a quirky, kind of like goofy show, kind of in a way. But after even what Zachary Zest had felt toward Mr. Franchise, you kind of had to feel bad for him. I would kind of agree. Almost think maybe he's also a guilty pleasure. I don't know. Hold on, Donnie. I remember Jenny is a part of the society, so you're clearly wrong. The lawman, Kyle Kennedy, also, by the way, big shout out to the lawman. We're obviously wearing his merchandise. Make sure you can, certainly, especially now, go out there and buy his merchandise. Donnie didn't end my career. The doctors did, but thanks for the reminder. So certainly something tells me here that the lawman, he's no fan of Donnie franchise. I think that's pretty safe to say, right? Also, before I do anything else here, and let me make my announcement about the Phantom of the Outlaws, let me bring on Remus Kane, another member of the society. Remus Kane, we're going to see in action in a number of different places. Obviously, May the 27th, which will be here for Nonstop Action Wrestling Zen show. We're also going to see him the following weekend at Firestar Championship Wrestling. So we're going to see Remus Kane, and Mr. Kane is going to be back on here right before the Firestar show. So this might be the first opening salvo, but let me tell you what Mr. Remus Kane has to say. Donnie franchise, you need to watch your mouth. Jenny Hayes is an integral part of society, like all of its members. And kind of an interesting line there, by the by, she's a champion who has defended those titles. You have nothing to your name, a pissed off locker room and a target on your back. You pressed all the buttons and have no clue how to sort your mess. I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to make a comparison, an analogy here. And I hope I'm not going to get in trouble or even give Mr. Franchise that much credit here. But if I were to say to you, Matt Royale, that almost in a way right now, that Donnie, I can't even saying this, that Donnie Franchise in WAS is the equivalent to CM Punk in that AEW locker room. What would you say to that? Is that a fair statement, a fair comparison, basically? And talking about the analogies and maybe how despised those two individuals are in those two different locker rooms?
Well, I think based on all the news sources you see, it's quite a decent analogy, really. I mean, nobody wants him back. Nobody wants
Pretty
him in the
much.
locker room.
Chris
I think
Jericho said several times he doesn't want CM Punk back, and I think pretty much tonight most of the locker room that's been on here wants nothing to do with him either.
absolutely not. I mean, like I say, he's got on the wrong side of pretty much everyone in the locker room now. Nobody wants to see him back. Nobody wants to do anything with him apart from maybe Chris Walker, who also just happened to be a little backstabbing snake himself.
All right. Well, you know what? I think we kind of got our answer then pretty much that Mr. Franchise is not going to be welcomed in too many places. In fact, I'm not even sure he'd be welcomed too much in the Enso locker room, especially because we know how the society pretty much feels about everything that they've had on here. So I could certainly see where this is going to go here. But obviously, I do want to get to a couple of different things here that I kind of talked about here at the top of the show. So let me do that here. So first, let me bring up here Owen Carter and the Phantom Phoenix. So first, let me bring up, because I have an announcement that I think you'll be curious for. All I'll say is it'll be interesting to see how Donnie enjoys having a chair rammed into his head. If you saw some of Owen Carter and Phantom Phoenix's promos, they have him marked for blood and marked for brutality. Let me just put it that way for the Phantom of the Outlaws. Surprisingly, something we can agree upon when it comes to, I guess, the society. So I guess the society and Phantom of the Outlaws have a mutual trust here, or a mutual truce, you might want to say, when it comes to this. And I want to have breaking news here for Phantom of the Outlaw, because we are bringing on Owen Carter and the Phantom Phoenix next Wednesday. They'll be in your chair, 8 p.m. British Standard Time on Sportswire Radio, all of our platforms here. And we're going to talk with them about all the different things that went on when it came to Deadline and the future here, because we know that Owen Carter is actually going to be involved here in this Young Blood Championship picture. And obviously also Phantom Phoenix is still going to have his side. We know that the Phantom Phoenix is still going to be a part of things as well. And I want everybody to follow Owen Carter at Real Outlaw King. I also want everybody to follow the Phantom Phoenix here. Also, the _Phantom Phoenix. Also, follow the guys. They have a new Instagram page. Real _Phantom of the Outlaw 2904. So, Real _Phantom of the Outlaw 2904. Please make sure you follow the guys. So, make sure you stay tuned next Wednesday for more coverage here of WAS. It'll be 8 p.m. British Standard Time, 3 p.m. New York time. It'll be on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, also sportnarium.com/play. That's where you can also follow and like all of our great platforms here on Sportswire Radio. So a lot of new YouTube subscribers. We're on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. A lot of new fans out there. So I want to thank everybody that subscribed and liked a lot of our shows of late. Facebook, we're just at about 600 followers now, so a lot of people supporting me. I really appreciate that. It's on Sportswire Radio. You can continue to like and follow us. And again, you can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/play. We have a little internet dial, which I am the man behind. I play music, I play talk, I simulcast these shows on this. So go out there, listen to us once in a while. Maybe you'll get lucky and get your favorite shows played on there. And I'll be back here with more coverage on Sportswire Radio coming up here later this week here with Wildfire Nate Reese, and also here going to have on more talent ahead. So stay tuned here on Sportswire Radio for more coverage. Also going to be back here Thursday night, which I'm going to get to you in a second for, with Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling. He'll be with us here in your chair, 8 p.m. British Standard Time, ahead of his match for the GT Ministries World Title against a man you're eventually going to be seeing in the ring, that is Disciple. Disciple is carrying 2 championship belts. He is Disciple 2 belts. He is, of course, the head of the table, and we'll certainly have to talk about that in a few minutes. So some more comments here. So we still on for a chat? Absolutely, Lawman Kyle Kennedy. I remember, when are we scheduled, by the way? I have to remember. When are we scheduled at this point? So I don't know if we made a confirmation on when to come back, but I definitely want you to come back. And how about next week, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy? What are you doing? Actually, what are you doing next Thursday? If you're not doing anything next Thursday, let's have a chat. So let's definitely talk next Thursday night. If you have time, Mr. Lawman Kyle Kennedy, and you want to come on to Sportswire and you're feeling up to it, maybe that's a good idea. So maybe next Thursday night in Matt Royale's chair, we can have you come on here. But also here, some more comments. I'll send Ethan and he'll deal with Donnie for you. Okay, well, I think that they're going to talk about that here for sure. So, all right, you know what? I kind of didn't want to mention it, which I talked about Disciple. It was announced after you had won the Rumble that you were going to be squaring off with Disciple at an unnamed time, undisclosed location, whatever it might be. And I mean, talk about that prospect, because I think this is a good way to kind of segue into Bentley coming on here Thursday night. And obviously, Bentley's going to get the first crack at Disciple before you do, and also Connor Cage, because Connor Cage is squaring off with Disciple for that world-class title in NSAW. That'll be on May the 27th, next Saturday at Zenith. So, I mean, what are your expectations here? I mean, obviously, you win this Rumble. You have a lot of momentum. You recover from what happened to you against Tommy Dillon. And, I mean, Disciple's different. Disciple's a world champion. He's a man that disposed of Gareth Angel. He's a man that disposed easily of the likes of Pride, Dave Douglas. He's already beat Bentley in competition. He's been in there with a who's who of competitors. And his run over the past 9 or 10 months speaks for itself. Tommy Dillon, he disposed of him twice. I mean, so he got the job done, and he saw what he did at Fatal Attraction, basically just annihilating many of the roster in NSAW. I mean, so how do you go into a match like this? Are you hoping that Bentley and basically Connor Cage basically beat him up and you can just take him for the taking? I mean, talk to me about all this.
Obviously, with Disciple, he's an incredible competitor. I mean, his record speaks for himself. He's currently, I'd love to say, undefeated in NSAR. Yep. He's currently their world-class champion. He's GT Ministries heavyweight champion. I mean, it's going to be a tough match. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, it's not going to be a fight that I can walk into and just expect to be a walk in the park. But just as much as I've never faced Disciple, he's never faced me. He doesn't know who he's stepping into the ring with. Similar to Tommy Dillon, there's very, very little to watch on me. I mean, there's not much you can study, whereas the opposite, I can study how he wrestles. I can study what he does. I can get inside of his head before the bell even rings. I mean, I think it's a match that I can go into thinking I've got an advantage. That could all change on the day. We never know. But I think it's a chance for me to really prove myself, because I think I had a chance with Tommy Dillon and it got squandered. But I think now it's the true test. Can I beat the world champion? Can I take the world championship? It's a nervous experience, but at the same time, it's exciting. It fires me up even more to kind of just want to go in there, want to absolutely destroy Disciple and take the World Class Championship home with me, because the Royalists need some gold. I mean, we've been at this whole Royal thing for a very long time, and I'm missing a crown. I'm missing some sort of gold that shows that I am the top of the wrestling world. And I think this is the time to take it.
All right, fair points here. And I realize we have a little bit of audio issues. I'm going to try to be as quick as I can with this question. Let me ask you, are you hoping in a way that you catch Disciple at the right time? Because while you say, sure, he could be the world champion, but you might be hoping for that. But in a way, are you hoping that maybe Bentley this weekend and Connor next weekend kind of maybe takes it to the champion, and then you kind of get him and you get him right where they left off?
I mean, not that I'd like to use his words to feel what I'm going to do, but as Logan Paul said, it only takes one lucky shot to keep someone down for a 3 count. Disciple doesn't know what I've got to use. I mean, it could only take one lucky shot and I'm walking away with the World Class Championship. It's all different things that you don't know until on the day, the different factors that can take effect in the match itself. You never know. Disciple could go in, he could be injured at the time. You never know. There could be a slight nagging injury. There could be any kind of advantage that I could have or disadvantage I could have. We never really know.
All right, fair enough. And I realize your audio on your end is kind of cutting out, as we kind of spoke about before off the air. So let me try to do these couple of things here very quickly in the interest of time and how much I have you for. Let me try to get to the points here. Absolutely up there. So we'll confirm the lawman Kyle Kennedy will be with us next Thursday night in your chair. Maybe 9 o'clock even. Oh, well, actually, we lost Matt Royale. Unfortunately, we lost Matt Royale here, so we hope to get him back. We'll see if he can fix those audio issues. If not, we certainly apologize, but we will have the lawman Kyle Kennedy with us here. Maybe 9 o'clock British Standard Time, if that works for you, next Thursday. And also here, Michael Noel says he can't win fair. So, yeah, you're not a Disciple guy. You, for whatever reason. But we're going to find out. Obviously, it's Team Bentley versus Team Disciple this weekend at GT Ministries. We've also got, obviously, the following weekend, Connor Cage and Disciple for the NSWAT title. So maybe, listen, he might be without world titles by the 27th, the way all planned out. So I don't know. I mean, we'll have to find out here. So obviously, I want everybody to know in the meantime to follow Wrestling Appreciation Society at WrestleSociety.hud. That's on Instagram. Also, like their page on Facebook at Wrestling Appreciation Society. Also, YouTube, subscribe to their pages. Also, Nonstop Action Wrestling, please subscribe to their page as well. And Michael also wants to tell me I'm at Zenith, so I can't wait. And I can't wait to talk about Zenith. We're going to have a lot of Zenith coverage here. We'll obviously talk about that with Owen Carter. We'll also talk about it with the Phantom Phoenix there. Also, Kyle Kenny's back with us next Thursday, so a lot to talk about there. Also, Remus Kane is back with us the following week. So we'll kind of recap Zenith probably. We'll talk about society and everything else. So obviously, and I do have some news here that we're going to try to get Matt Royale here in a couple of minutes. He's going to try to restart it. So we'll try to basically, when Matt comes on, basically just finish the show, get a couple of quick thoughts here. So we apologize for the technical difficulties here for Matt Royale. And again, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm the man behind Sportswire Radio. And to recap here, this coming Thursday, 8 o'clock, Bentley is back with us, the vigilante of pro wrestling. He'll talk about his main event here for the GT Ministries title against Disciple. I'll also have Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Anthony Steele. Anthony Steele will talk about all things related to him. He's going to be wrestling a number of different places throughout the Midwest, possibly including the IMF, our friends over at the IMF, TBW, Resurrection Wrestling. He'll talk about all that plus a heck of a lot more. We'll also be back here later this weekend with James Marshall of the Interstate Openweight Champion. Also, again, one more time here, Matt Royale is currently having his next wrestling match against his computer gremlins. He'll be right back here. Mr. Royale, are you back with us? Mr. Royale here. Hello there, Mr. Royale. I will certainly try to keep it quick here. C2K says Matt Royale is the greatest. Well, right now I think the computer is going 1, 2.
Can you hear me, Tom?
Yes, I can hear you, Matt Royale. I definitely hear you. Are you okay, my friend?
We're all good. I might not have a camera, but I've got a microphone.
Okay. All right, so you know what, then? I'll be respectful of your time here. So I realize that I don't know how much longer I have you. So the first thing I want to ask you here, then, just to kind of get down to the punchline here, where do you think the future is of WAS?
I think we've set a precedent for what WAS is capable of. I think this first year was all about proving points to people that kind of needed a bit of proving. I mean, the show that we put on, I think all of us went in with lower expectations than what we actually got out of the show. I think, and now it kind of has been imprinted in his head that we can achieve that. Why can we not push on for more? And I think that's all WS are now going to do. It's just going to keep building upon what it's already been showing off right now. And I think it just means that we allow future potential wrestling stars to find their platform, find their start, and kind of have a shot at an industry that is extremely difficult to get into if you don't know the right people.
What did you learn from being a part of this event that you guys will apply for next time?
I think just to have faith more than anything. I think trust that we can do something that others say that we can't do. Industry professionals say that we can't do something, but we've shown to everyone now that it is possible, that even with limited training for a lot of the people, a lot of the guys that were in the show, you can put on something that people will remember years down the line. It's certainly a memory that I will never lose. The show itself was one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I think it's something that I will always treasure and hold dear to me.
I think that's pretty much well said. Let me ask you a question that obviously coming into the Rumble, that was a big Rumble. That was a big deal experience, and that's an experience that you're going to certainly use. And I think, obviously, the Disciple announcement kind of builds off that a little bit, but I have to ask you just from a personal perspective, what did it mean to you to win the 2023 Wrestling Appreciation Society Deadline Rumble?
I think for me, it was a lot of gratification. Like, I've been doing this coming up to 10 years now. I think it's something that I've never had the opportunity to have a moment like that. And I think finally getting that one moment, it's really put into perspective that this is something that I want to keep doing. It's something that I should never give up on again and never should let go again, because it's something that I can do. It's something that I should do now, I think. So it's just been a great experience for the entire time that we've been doing it. And I think it's something that I now look as a treasured memory and something that I'll look at as the first step in the right direction to what Matt Royale is capable of.
Did it make it extra special because it was the main event?
Yes, because it's kind of like it's the last thing people are going to see before they leave. It's the last kind of moment of the show. It's the last it's the big moment of the show. It's it's like with a WrestleMania. The matches you will remember are the main events of the shows.
Yep.
Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. That's the match you remember. As annoying as it was to watch.
I was gonna say, if you would have mentioned the Usos and Bloodline, that ending on the first night of the show, so that would have been probably a better analogy, because I think wrestling fans, as you know, are still kind of burned at that still.
But exactly, it's something that people are still talking about. I think it's arguably the one thing coming out of WrestleMania that people won't stop talking about is how the decision maybe wasn't the right one at the time.
Oh, I think people are going to be talking about that probably like for 20 years from now. People are going to be talking about why did they make that decision.
It'll be until Cody takes it off of him finally.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, we'll definitely have to see it. I wanted to ask you then also when it came to just you guys coming out, all of you guys, the WAS roster, after you win the Rumble, you all kind of embrace and take a bow. What did that mean?
I think, obviously, when we started this group, we were very different people. And I think as we've kind of come close to the show, everyone's just realised that we've become a second family to each other. And I think it was, especially for some of the people that may not be on the show next year because they're leaving university now, it was like our one last hurrah. And it was like the family's breaking up, but we've always had that moment. That's the moment we can all share and we can be like, we did this.
That didn't make it bittersweet in any way, no?
It's, of course, bittersweet because it was a memory that we'll all share as the first time that we ever got to do something like that. But I think at the same time, it's a memory that we'll all treasure. And it's a story to tell your kids when you're older. It's a story to tell friends and family all the time. I think we're always going to stick together. We've always got each other. But yeah, it's definitely bittersweet because we may never get that same kind of moment again, but we've just got to enjoy it while we can and just keep holding on to it, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like sometimes you have a graduation from whether it's university or school, or you have a birthday party, or you're moving somewhere you've been a part of, and you have a great moment, you remember it, but it's only that last moment. So I could certainly see, but I think at the end of the day, to have been a part of such an historic event that was such a resounding success, I don't think there'll be any bitter feelings for anybody here, not only you, but the rest of the roster, especially those that won't be back here. So I have to ask you then, what are your goals now going forward? Your return to the ring has been highly successful. You arguably should have beat Tommy Dillon. You did win the Rumble in the main event. You were announced at some point eventually for a match with Disciple, a guy who was holding 2 world titles. So what's the future here in the ring for you, my friend?
I think the main goal is to have gold by the end of the year. I think that is something that every wrestler in the world strives for. I think it's a way to kind of put your mark on the wrestling business as a whole. If you can walk around as a champion, it shows that you know what you're doing. You're not just some run-of-the-mill rookie that's come out of a training school and straight away thinks they know exactly what they're doing. I think just to be able to put on matches with different people, wrestle as many different people as possible, wrestle for as many different companies as possible, win championships in different companies. I think the sky's the limit, really, with the industry that we're working in. Like, there's companies starting left, right, and centre. Literally, we started our own this year. I think being able to be share something similar to what we shared this year, that's the true goal. I think to have a wrestling family is something it's very important to me personally.
Absolutely. And again, I want everybody to follow Wrestling's Appreciation Society on Instagram at WrestleSociety.hut. Again, like their page on Facebook, YouTube. Please support them. They will definitely have bigger and better things ahead. And think about it. Listen, we were in this chair last year with Enso talking about how Enso had just kind of had a couple shows and Enso was building. You look at that CCW we had on last year and the year prior, they had just started their company. Look at the success that they've had on. I mean, we talked with the LWF during COVID. The LWF had only been around for a couple years. So, listen, I think at the end of the day, you have a dream, you do the right things. Hard work will definitely pay off, and everybody at Wrestling Appreciation Society has definitely shown that hard work pays off and dreams definitely come true. So before I get to closing thoughts here, and I realize here with technical difficulties and such, we don't want to keep you too much longer, but I have to ask you kind of a question here if you want to fire one more shot. You have anything else that you may want to say to get off your chest to Donnie Franchise?
There's not really much to say at the matter. It's really quite simple. You watch your back, you look around every corner before you take the turn, and you just make sure that I'm not in your crosshairs, because if I ever am, it's the end for you, mate.
So it sounds to me as if it ain't the society no longer that Donnie Franchise got to worry about. It's got to be Matt Royale and everybody else on the WAS roster. And again, as a reminder, next week will be next Wednesday, May 24th, 8 p.m. British Standard Time. We'll be talking with the Phantom of the Outlaw, Owen Carter, and the Phantom Phoenix himself, and we'll talk about that. I am sure Donnie Franchise is going to be a hot topic, and you better tune in, because I am sure those guys, if you've caught their most recent promos, they're going to have a lot to get off their chest. Plus, we know they're going to be a part of things going over at the next NSOUR show here. And stay tuned to Sportswire for more details. Obviously, we'll have the Phantom of the Outlaw guys and Kyle Kennedy the following night. So we'll have a lot of NSOUR Zenith coverage ahead. So definitely please stay tuned and follow NSOUR on Instagram at NSOUR Wrestling UK. Also, NSOUR Rest_UK on Twitter. Also, like their YouTube and Facebook pages at Nonstop Action Wrestling. Also, stay tuned to WAS's social media for announcements on when the Deadline show and its full entity will be posted on their YouTube page. So I realize you're got a lot going on there, and I appreciate the fact that you've bared with us here for a few more minutes. So Matt Royale, I want to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say? Anything else you want to get off your chest? You know the drill. You know you'll be back here at this point in the near and distant future, because I want to get you on when that match is announced for Disciple. I want to get you on when you're returned here for another company, and plus much, much more. So you know the drill at this point. Plug any social media. The floor is yours, and fire away.
Thank you very much, Tom. I've got the Instagram, Matt_Royale.wrestle. We've got the Facebook, Matt Royale. WrestleSociety.hud. NSOUR audience, I will see you next Saturday at the Be Strong Centre for Zenith. It should be an amazing show. There'll be more of that to follow. Disciple, watch your back. I am on gold. I will come home with the World Class Championship. Thank you very much, Tom, for having me. It's been another amazing experience, and just thank you for giving us the floor with you. It's been amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I'll say before we go, when somebody said to me, hey, do you want to cover this company? And I'm like, yeah, it's what we do on Sportswire. It's called Wrestling Appreciation Society. They're university students trying to put together a wrestling show. I'm like, would you have any qualms with that? I'm like, no, absolutely not. I mean, it's what we do on Sportswire. We give everybody an opportunity. So I'm so glad to have been a part of this journey. I'm so glad to have given a small contribution to the success of the show. And I look forward to doing more with you guys. Obviously, we'll see next week with Phantom of the Outlaw, and also Donnie Franchise to follow right after that. So, Matt, congratulations on winning the Rumble here. I look forward to seeing what you do here in this return to the ring. I look forward to seeing how you shape up against Disciple. I'm sure Bentley will have a lot more to say on that Thursday night. I hope you tune in, as well as everybody else here. And congratulations, my friend. Thank you for all you do, and looking forward to speaking with you soon here.
Thank you very much, Tom. An amazing time as always.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the 2023 Deadline Rumble winner from the Wrestling Appreciation Society, Matt Royale, and it's announced here he'll be at some point at an undisclosed time and date against Disciple, the current GT Ministries and NSOUR champion. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm the host of Sportswire Radio, and if you're on sportnerdam.com/player, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, as a reminder, Thursday night, 8 p.m. British Standard Time live, GT Ministries Bentley. He'll talk about his match against Disciple, Team Bentley versus Disciple for the GT Ministries World Title. Also, stay tuned. I'll have an announcement Thursday night on his spot for a guest on Saturday. I'll be back here Saturday night. So stay tuned here on the number one Global Radio